Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fem Talk. It is Fem Talk Tuesday, everyone, and you know how this goes Tuesday night. And tonight we are talking about women in Black history. We have a very special guest for
Yes, we
you
do.
today. We are honored this evening to have her here. So we are going to get right into the show. We're going to bring the beautiful ladies of Fem Talk in. We are going to talk hot topics, as you know that we do. And then we are going to get right into speaking with our wonderful guest who is waiting so patiently in the green room. I hope that you have some goodies back there in the green room with you. So we're going to bring in the ladies. And Shima, just tell us tonight how excited you are about our guest tonight.
I'm just honored. I'm happy that she accepted the invitation and that she was available because she is such a busy lady. And I'm just chomping at the bit to hear what she has to say and all of her tales and all of the things that wonderful things that she does and has done in her life. So I'm super excited.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's bring in the other two beautiful ladies of Fem Talk. We have Brandy, the disconnector,
I'm so excited.
and we have Melissa Mimi, girl bossed up.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello. So let's get into this hot topic
Hot
for this
topic.
evening. So, Mimi, why don't you kick us off? Because you always have the great hot topics to bring up every Tuesday evening.
But this, I think it was so fitting the end of Black History Month, although I call it American History. We had one of our I guess heroes of this decade, these few decades. Will Smith won the SAG Award for King Richard.
Yeah.
If you watch it, you was able to watch it, and what I loved about it was just what he gave homage, he gave credit, he gave honor to both Venus and Serena Williams, but more importantly to the father. And I remember back in the day, if you guys did too, that back in the day, they really once again social media, the media portrayed him as really a nutcase.
Right.
And always showed him in such a negative light.
Mhm.
And what I loved about number one, the movie, if you have not watched it, it is just amazing. But he gave credit to that, and he talked about his brilliance because these were really his whole family, because most of his children are quite successful.
Yes.
And he took them out of Compton with nothing and gave them a dream. And he made sure that in his brilliance, he took nothing and made not just two of the most recognizable names in tennis, but two of the most recognizable names in sports. And they will go down forever known to this day. The records that Serena Williams had is unmatched. Her winning record, her records in just both globally and nationally are just unmatched. And I remember in the movie, he said, "You think Venus is something? Wait till Serena is." Because he said she will be the U.S. champion, but Serena will be the most famous worldwide. And he and I remember that, and I just I think that's just something, because it just shows us that we cannot allow anyone to stop what we have in our mind to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a father who understood the two children that he had, right? And the two children that
Exactly.
he was raising, and the difference in their personalities, and knowing that both of them were going to be powerhouses and tennis players and recognized worldwide, but to understand the difference between your children, to be able
Absolutely.
to say that.
And to see the vision
Yeah.
Yes.
and the I guess the crazy was he wasn't able to convince people, but the vision was there and he had to do something with it. The
And,
push
and
was
the
so
crazy
hard, but
was that
he
he
had
didn't
to.
listen to what people
Yeah,
told him to do. That
exactly.
was the crazy, and it talks a lot about who we are. A lot of times when we don't conform to the norm, we're delusional, we're crazy, and that's what he
Absolutely.
didn't conform.
Yeah.
He refused to train them the same way other tennis stars were trained.
Yeah.
Right.
I love what Suave was saying. He was a leader and he was a visionary.
Yeah.
And because he had that, he did not allow anybody to sway that. And to me, and even another component of what Will Smith did in his acceptance speech was his honor to now bring up new, bright African American women into the industry. He talked about the two girls that played Venus and Serena in the movie, and how he walked them around the room and introduced them to all the who's in the industry, saying, giving them their next start. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that was a big honor for him. So to me, it just said everything about what we should be doing.
Yeah. And hopefully that was just for other fathers out there who, may have a little doubt in their mind about raising their daughters to be superstars at whatever it is, whatever industry, be it sports or otherwise, but to know that they can do it as well, no matter what the naysayers have to say about them, particularly in the Black community. So it's nice to see that King Richard was portrayed a little bit different in the movie, not just as the crazy, but as the brilliant.
Right.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
And that's the difference when we get to tell our own story, though.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah,
And see, we don't tell it enough. I love that you said that, Brandy. We don't tell it enough. And, I think that's what we have to start doing, is telling our own story. Like you said, Tracy, not being swayed by social media, not being swayed by what everybody's saying, but doing what we know in our heart is right to do. Yeah. And then telling the story the way we need to tell it.
Something just came to mind. Don't be politically correct. Just be correct.
That's right, Brandy. I love that. I love that.
Yes.
Well, and I know that our guest is going to have a lot to say about that particular statement. So Shima, why don't you introduce our guest?
I'm going to just read a little bit of her bio. I got to put my glasses on, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all know how I go. I'm not even going to say why. I'm just
Hey, Professor Shima. How you doing?
Come on, embrace it. Embrace it.
So our illustrious guest today is Miss Theodora Smiley Lacey, a resident of Teaneck, New Jersey for over 60 years. She has been deeply committed to equality for many decades. A native of Montgomery, Alabama, she grew up in the segregated South and encountered many forms of racism. She worked closely with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. during the famed Montgomery bus boycott in 1955. In the summer of 1957, she and her husband, Archie L. Lacey, traveled throughout Alabama researching voter registration fraud and injustice in the political system of Alabama. Their research supported litigation that changed voting rights for Blacks.
Wow.
Miss Lacey was a teacher for over 40 years. She and her husband played a major role in the successful integration of the Teaneck Public Schools here in New Jersey. Her service to the community is extensive and varied. She was chosen to be a delegate representing New Jersey in a citizen-to-citizen exchange program trip to Russia.
Wow.
Now, you know that's going to be a discussion because
that's right.
What are we dealing with right now?
Look at what we're dealing
and
with.
was the co-founder of Teens Talk About Racism, an annual diversity conference for high school students throughout Bergen County. She was appointed by Governor Christie to serve on the Martin Luther King Jr. State Commission. She is a former president of the Iota Epsilon Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and the Bergen County chapter of Links Incorporated. Miss Lacey is a member of the Central Unitarian Church in Paramus, New Jersey, a mother of 4, a grandmother of 10, and a great-grandmother of 11.
Wow.
An avid reader, she recently co-authored a children's book called The Grocery Game with her granddaughter, Tori Murphy. In addition to reading, she also enjoys traveling, needlework, Sudoku, and word puzzles. And we have so many accolades and awards, and we want to talk about her currently held positions once we bring her on. Yes. So without further ado, please welcome Miss Theodora Smiley Lacey.
Yes, I feel like we should be standing up,
I
Mrs.
know.
Lacey.
Yes.
Yes, it's such an
Thank you.
honor.
Thank you. I am so excited to be with you. This is my first time doing Film Talk, and I just regret that I haven't been able to hear you before. But thank you for inviting me to be with you. It's
We
just
are so
wonderful.
happy to have you.
Thank you.
Happy to have you. Feel free to jump in anywhere. You weren't on for the hot topic, but part of one of the hot topics we were going to talk about earlier was what's going on, of course, in Ukraine, and you having done a little work in that with Russia. How does that? What was your first thoughts when all of this started?
Having had the opportunity to be a member of a diverse team to visit Russia, my first thought was such a beautiful, beautiful place.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
To be so consumed with so much hatred
Mm.
and zest, dominance, and wanting to control and to power hungry, I guess is what you said.
Yeah.
And the total disregard for human life.
Yeah.
It just is a saddest thing that I can think of at the moment.
Yeah.
And it is something that we should all be aware of in terms of human relations. We are so blessed as human beings, but we can also be so destructive to one another.
Yeah.
And of course, as Americans, and especially Black Americans, we know that story oh so well.
Yeah.
That if we look at people and we make judgments about people,
Yes.
and then we attempt to destroy them if they don't fit our profile. So this is something that America has always had to face. But in terms of what is going on in Ukraine, we must all be aware of the destruction of the ideals of democracy.
Yeah.
No matter what you think or what your personal or religious beliefs are, it should be one that would help want you to promote the ideals of democracy.
Yeah.
What
Absolutely.
we have in our country is not ideal, but there is an attempt to work towards that ideal.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that is the attempt in places like Russia.
Mm.
To make
Wow.
sure that everyone is able to live up to their potential, regardless of whomever they are. That is what we ought to want for every living human being.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
is so true. It is so true. And we take those ideas and those thoughts and freedoms for granted. Even like you said, as Black people, we forget sometimes that we've had those hardships, and it's just disheartening.
Mhm.
It's absolutely disheartening.
As you open your session talking about Will Smith,
Mhm.
I was so elated last night
Yes.
when he was nominated. I grew up, as you indicated, in the South.
Mhm.
And for people who needed assistance, who needed the help from the government,
Mhm.
if you were married, if the father was in the house, you had a very difficult time getting that assistance. So
Mhm.
many fathers left the home so
Mhm.
that not to just abandon their families, but so that their families could get assistance. That's
Wow.
Wow.
so when we talk about especially Black fathers who
Mhm.
have not been there and have not been supportive, many times it was not because they didn't want to be, but
Right.
because if they stayed in the household, they would not be able to get the government assistance. A
Yeah.
terrible and cruel way, instead of wanting to keep the family whole
Yeah.
and to help, they push Black men out of things.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow.
Almost purposeful.
Right.
Yeah.
And we
Oh,
don't even hear
absolutely.
that. We don't even hear that kind of a story, Miss Lacey.
Right.
In
Yes,
that.
well, welfare has been one of the things that they said that's all Blacks want is welfare, which and I know is not the case at all.
Correct.
We want opportunity.
Yeah.
And because doors were closed, we did not have those opportunities. But when families would reach out for welfare, often if there was a man in the house, they would not give them assistance.
Yeah.
So that's why many Black men left their homes and left them. It's just a cruel system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
You know what else I've noticed too in regards to that? With young Black men now, the government is fast to encourage the mothers to sign them up under Social Security for being crazy,
Mm.
mentally
Mm.
unstable,
Mm.
and that tag has had an effect on our young men. So it's just shifted form. So I'm glad that you shared where it started, and my generation could see where it's at and where it could possibly go if we don't
Right.
step in.
And what things they need to change. Like you
Right.
said, don't make those same mistakes. Wow. So early, Miss Lacey, you are really touching us so
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit, if you don't mind, and I want to find out about how you became this powerhouse marvel of a woman.
Mm.
What was that first thought of this just isn't right and I need to do something?
Yeah.
Well, we all have a story to tell. And we really have, our story begins sometimes before we're born.
Mm.
Yes.
We don't choose our parents. We don't choose the location of our birth. We just appear.
Yeah.
And so that those who were fortunate enough to have parents who from birth instilled in them that they were somebody,
Mm.
Right.
were fortunate from those who had parents who did not have the time or wherewithal to help to instill those kind of characteristics. My story perhaps could begin with a woman who was enslaved in Bedford, Virginia, and sold at 8 years old to a plantation in Alabama.
Mm.
Or it might extend to a grandmother who was very poor, but felt so strongly about education
Mm.
that she received as much education as she possibly could
Mm.
and instilled that in her children. And my mother, who was taught school for 42 years, and who, of course, believed that if you get it in your head, no matter what the laws or policies say, they can't take that from you. And one day, those laws and policies can change. And so I was lucky to have been born in a family of great women, and but who were not powerful because they had money or wealth, but because they had strong belief
Right.
in
Yeah.
human decency,
Yeah.
honesty, and compassion.
Yes.
I was growing up, it was unheard of for me to want to be a member of the government, to be a senator or a congresswoman, or to even clerk in a department store.
Right.
But there were people who constantly told you, learn as much as you can, and you
Yes.
can be anything you want to be.
Absolutely.
I think that must have been magic, because all around us, we were constantly told that we were inferior. You couldn't shop in certain shops. You couldn't try on clothes or shoes. You couldn't go to the public parks to play. Everything. The schools were designed so that you got the books that was discarded from the white schools a year after they had been used. The
Right.
furniture was the furniture that was left over. Every opportunity was made to make you think you were inferior. But in the segregated Black community, there were people, your family, your neighbors, the people in your churches telling you, you are somebody
Yes.
and can be somebody. And
Yes.
so I don't think I had much choice but to try to do as much as I could to do. I remember as a child, the neighbors could ask you to run errands, take in wood or coal or run to the store for them. And so you did as a child. And usually your neighbor would give you cookies or candies, maybe a couple of pennies, and you were so excited. And I remember we had a neighbor who often asked me to come to help, but she never gave me anything. And so I said to my grandfather, I'm not going there anymore because she doesn't give me even a cookie. And he said to me, you want to do some things in life that you're not paid for.
That's right.
You don't paid for everything. You
That's
want
right.
to do something out of the goodness of your
Yes.
heart. And so that stuck with me all my life. And so here I am, still trying.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. It's trying. I don't know if you could say trying. You're doing very well at it.
Yes.
I have more questions, but I want to give the ladies a chance to
And
ask theirs. You guys could just chime in because I'm right about now. I'm sitting on the floor, Indian style, like a child, and I'm just taking in everything you say because
I
it's
know.
just amazing.
I'm right there with you.
Actually, let's just break quickly for our quick segment that Melissa, Girl Bossed Up, is going to do. And then we're going to come back in and get right back into this with Mrs. Lacey. I'm actually in awe. I don't even know what to say, to be honest with you. I just want her to keep talking. But we're going to do this segment, and we're going to have a commercial first, do this segment, and then we will be right back to talk to Mrs. Lacey, everyone. Here we go. Oh my goodness, this is so good. Stay tuned. Do not go anywhere, everyone out there.
Right. You don't want to miss.
Hey, girl, bust up. Do your thing.
It looks like it's you can see can you see me?
We can see you and we can
Oh,
hear you.
okay, good. It's kind of doing something funny on my side, but hey, if you can see me, let's just go with it. Hi
Absolutely.
everyone out there. How are you doing? Today, in honor of Women's History Month, and as we close out Black History Month, one of the things that just that I a couple of days ago I posted, as some of you watch, if you watch TV and all that kind of stuff, Sherry Shepherd just got the opportunity to start her own TV show. But she gave this wonderful speech the other night, and what she said was, sometimes when doors close on you, we tend to then, think that God isn't listening to us. That when we're told no, that we can't get something that we've been believing for, that we think that the opportunity is gone. But what she said is that we cannot give up on our dreams. We cannot give up on what we are believing for. That sometimes those no's is not a no forever. It's a no for now. It's a no for you to prepare. It's a no for you to get ready. It's more motivation for you to go out and get and believe for what you're believing for, but more importantly, be ready when the opportunity opens up for you. And what I just love about that is that she didn't know what was going to happen, and she just stepped in just to, as they say, just to help something get by until they were able to decide what's going to happen. But because she did it with such honor, because she did it with such integrity, because she did it just well and was absolutely prepared for the moment, she was able and given an opportunity that she could not even dream of. Now she has her own show about to start. And today, what I want to just tell you is that don't take every no as a closed door. Don't take every no as it's never going to happen. Use that no to encourage yourself. Use that no to propel you to the next level. Use that no to get ready, because when that door opens, you need to be able to walk in, and not just walk in, but do the thing that you were called to do with everything that's in you and with the authenticity of who you are. So I just want to send you a little bit of encouragement from Girl Bossed Up today, that your no is not a never. Your no is get ready, because when the door opens, run in and do it and do what you were called to do. So from Girl Bossed Up, I'll talk to you later.
All right, everyone, and we are back. We want to thank Melissa for that message, because that was amazing.
Yes.
So make sure that you are not listening to those no's. The no is not a never, and run through
That's
that door.
right.
Like Melissa said, get yourself prepared and run through that door. So we just want to come back in with Mrs. Lacey, because this is an honor, everyone. It is an honor to have her here, and we just have so much more to hear from Mrs. Lacey. So we're gonna do this right now. Let's bring in the ladies of FEM Talk.
I'm so sorry. We still got a whole half a show left.
Yes, me too. Me too. So without further ado, we want to bring in Mrs. Theodora Smiley Lacey. Thank you, Mrs. Lacey. The first half of the conversation was so good. We want to make sure that we have enough time to continue to hear everything that you have to instill in us, and just to bless us with your presence and your history and your experience. So I know Shima had ended the last part of the segment with, does anybody else have any questions? So you were going to start with the question, or Brandy. Brandy has her hand raised, so, or Brandy.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Now, Miss Lacey, Mrs. Lacey, what do you think of us younger generation folks that don't seem to understand the sacrifices that were made by your generation and beyond, and we just take it all for granted? How do you keep from like shaking us?
I have my youngest daughter teaches high school, and the other day she said something about George Washington Carver to her 11th grade class. And many of them did not know of who George Washington Carver was.
Wow.
And she was livid. She just could not believe it because she's much younger than I am. So I said to her that we don't have time to be livid or angry or upset. We must, when we find these kind of deficits, we must teach and preach and share and role model, because it's not their fault that they don't know. They just have never been told, never been taught, never seen people who look like them doing things. When I was growing up, the Montgomery, Alabama, it's the capital of the state. Big capital with lots of job opportunities. I couldn't even walk across the Capitol grounds, never inside the Capitol building. But as I said earlier, we were told learn as much as you can in that segregated setting. And you know, from the work that I've tried to be involved in, I am not for segregation. I have worked hard most of my life for integrating, for bringing people together. But, you know, we lost something when we integrated.
Yeah.
In that segregated setting, there were Black teachers and ministers and pharmacists and shoemakers and people who own drug stores, who own dry cleaning places, shoe shops, and bakeries. I got to see all of that. And I knew that they were skilled and competent people. My children grew up in Teaneck, New Jersey. They saw none of that.
Yeah.
Except for what our families could instill in them. We had to share. But there were no bakeries in Teaneck owned and operated by Black. No pharmacists, no people who were leading in the community in terms of mayors and etc. So it's not totally their fault. And it pains me to know that they have not been able to have the opportunity to learn who they are and to be proud of who they are and to stand up. As a matter of fact, when we were small, you did not want to have any association with Africa. Someone said that you were from Africa. You said, I'm not from Africa, because the only thing we knew about Africa was Tarzan flying through the trees.
That's right.
Not about the kingdoms and the all of the methodology that they had established long before we knew it in our country. We weren't taught that. And so it's the same thing. We have to take the responsibility and make sure that our young people are given every opportunity to learn as much as they can about who they are and what they can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mrs. Lacey, what would you say, like, for all the parents out there, because we know that the school systems don't teach our history to the fullest extent. So what would you say to the parents out there? How or where do you suggest they start?
Oh, it is so much better, even though it is not where we want it to be. And of course, you are aware of the fact now they're beginning to ban books in the library. The whole thought of critical thinking is to be outlawed, but so that the problems are just as severe. Parents have the opportunity to have them know as much as they can about themselves and about their history and about the history of our country. We are the only group of people who were brought to this country and everything was taken away from us. our language,
Yeah.
our culture. And it's amazing. It is just amazing how we have been able to restore that and to claim it and to move on. And so it is, I think, so important that our community organizations, if they are doing what they're doing, they ought to be encouraging and bringing young people in and sharing with them as much knowledge as you can be. You know, it doesn't matter what you do. It's as always said, be the best of whatever you are. You know, Martin Luther King, whom I had the opportunity to work with and to know as a friend of my family used to say, be the best street sweeper you can be. If you can be a street sweeper, there's nothing wrong with cleaning the streets. Do it with all of the skill and passion and desire that you can. And so we must teach our children that not to be afraid because your SAT scores are not as high as some other scores are, or that you're looked upon just because of the color of your skin. Find out what you can do and spend your time trying to do the very best that you can. It's so difficult for so many Black families who are just trying to make it, to be able to fill all of these spaces to keep our children afloat, but with love and compassion and urging them to be yourself, be good at it, is the first step that I think parents should take.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it sounded like you were giving your family history, that your family was very intentional about sharing the legacy and the history of your family and what they left behind, and what they contributed also to, the generation to come next. So, I hope parents listen to that, what you just mentioned, and take that and give their children their history.
Mm. I have another question for you, Miss Lacey. Mrs. Lacey, are you familiar with a
Sure.
volume of about 5 books produced by Ebony Magazine, 2 of which consisted of black, old, real black history, and the other 3, one was based on success, one was based on business, and one was like a directory of black-owned businesses, I think. Are you aware of those at all? I believe they were released back in like the 60s or 70s, perhaps, and they're really hard to locate, but I have a set.
You know, I'm vaguely recalling that, but I am not sure that it's that would be wonderful to resurface because remember in 1926 it was Carter G. Woodson who came up with the idea of observing Black History Week, not because he wanted Blacks just to be overpowering or to know Black. He wanted that history to be recorded, indicating that Black people were Americans too, that they were just like that. That's a part of the American history that you're leaving out. So Ebony was one of the few fortunate, as the years went by, companies that was able to bring that culture back to us. So I would be excited to see that. It was where you got all of your information about what Black people were doing. There were a couple of Black papers like the Chicago Tribune, I think, Defender, Chicago Defender, and a couple of other papers that you were able to get. But most of the major newspapers did not include us, no matter what you did, or what you accomplished. So you had to go to groups like Ebony, who gave so much to us about who we are and where we've been. I'd love to see that if you
I would love to have them published,
Or
republished.
republished.
Yes, because they're so hard to find. The only reason I even know they exist because my big mama, she's a lady that I used to work with, and I've adopted her. She is my big mama. That you can't tell me nothing different. She introduced me to the books, and I had to get a set. I found a set of my own on eBay, and when I started reading them, I was like, why aren't these readily available? And when we know that stuff like this exists, why haven't we republished them so that our generation can know better?
Right.
We all know what Maya Angelou said.
Absolutely.
It's so great.
Maybe
great.
that's a project. That's absolutely a project.
That's something to do.
Somebody point in the
campaign
direction
to
of a college.
write.
I need to talk to them.
Exactly.
Exactly.
A way to get in touch with Ebony and
I need to
probably
talk to Ebony
request
too to
it.
see if there's a
I
copyright
love
that I
that.
can get
Sure.
around.
Or
I love that.
re-release. You know, they if you get enough attention, they'll re-release it. Well,
Yeah.
Sure.
we would want them to re-release it.
We
Not
can
quite
push
sure
that
if
out,
they
right? They
because
would.
that's some prime information right there.
Absolutely. I have a question.
Yeah.
You know, I was so honored about a year and a half ago when we and Teaneck dedicated the building, Theodora Smiley Lacey building in honor of you, Miss Lacey. And you know, what really got me was that, you know, going to school, many of us have been in elementary school, middle school, high schools named after people we have never seen, we have never known. And sometimes they didn't even give you the background of what of who the person was that the building was named after. Being that now you are have your name on the building, what do you want the students in that building to know about you? When they come into that building, what would you like for that principal, that teacher to tell those students about the building they're in?
I was just there a few days ago. It's always so exciting to go into that building. But as I said on the day of the naming, my name is on the outside of that building in big bold letters in it. And I almost get a chill every time I see it. But that is not what the building is about. It is what is going on inside that building.
Yeah.
There are so many names that could cover the bricks of that building. People who have tried to make a difference in the education and in the lives of our children. But the most important thing is, what are we doing with the young minds who enter that building? They are the freshest minds. They are the most open mind. They are
That's
the
right.
most giving and caring and loving. Something happens when you leave kindergarten and start going up the ladder. But at that stage, they are ready to embrace and to learn and to understand. So it is what is going on. And I don't mean if you're teaching them the alphabet, because they'll get that somewhere
That's
else.
right. That's right.
And I don't mean if you're teaching them to count or to recognize words, they'll get that. You can get those things even in an isolated situation. What you cannot get is appreciation and understanding of one another. And so if they're doing nothing more than having students to be able to look at their classmates who may look different from them and to appreciate them for whom they are and to know that they are like them. They are all human beings. That there is no such thing as race. There is only one race. That is the human race. So we say all the time that what you learn in kindergarten takes you all through your life. How to share, how to be polite, how to be caring, how to respect one another. So fundamentals of being a true human being begins there.
That's right.
And I hope, and I do see that when I go in that building. It is a warmth and a joy, and to see the diversity of students talking with one another, sharing and giving. That's what we want. That's what education is all about.
That's
That there
right.
is no superior,
Yeah.
that we are all equal. We're all in this journey together.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
I know. Oh my goodness.
oh, boy. You have us
Ooh,
stunned. I have
yeah.
to tell you, Miss Lacey, we rarely are quiet on this show and talk and at a loss for words, but you are feeding our souls right now with
Yeah.
wisdom and instruction.
Yeah.
The stuff that we know and we've learned, it's just being repeated and it's it's just touching our hearts and our minds and making us think and revving us up
Yeah.
to make
You
sure
know,
that we are doing what you are saying.
Yeah.
and though as adults we can learn new things, it's difficult. You know, we really need to start at home with our own children
Mhm.
and
Mm,
helping them to feel secure about themselves,
Yeah.
but
right.
also teaching them to accept differences.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what religion you are, or what school you happen to attend, or how much money your friend's family may have.
Yeah.
But who are you? And what is your work? And so we can begin that at home without anyone else, deterring us. And it is a must, you know. And I have confidence that the young people growing up today will be totally different from the young people that I grew up with. They will be void of the kind of, even though prejudice is rearing its ugly heads in many ways, I think that young people are not so sure about that. And I think that they will be able to say, but my classmate or my friend was so and so. And so that's not true. I'm hoping that that will be the future.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Mm. Shima, you hear you.
You muted.
I'm muted and I'm blushing because I was saying that just those comments makes us want to do even more and teach
Yeah.
even more and learn for ourselves. Like you
Yeah.
said, even if you haven't had the opportunities, learn about them and then go out and teach about them. And that's one of the things that I say all the time. I want to teach more. I want to
Sure.
learn more. I want to love more. And everything that you do and you say is the epitome of that.
Mm.
And I just have to say thank you for myself on behalf of the ladies. I'm sure they're going to say thank you too. But I do want to take a quick break because I got not a break, but I do want to say what you are doing, Miss Busy Lady. I have to read this. You are a part of the Teaneck Film Festival, the Township Historical Preservation Commission, the Historical Society, African American Advisory Board for Bergen County, the chair of Martin Luther King Observance Committee, the co-chair of the Martin Luther King Monument Committee, which in 2014 erected a larger-than-life-size statue of Dr. King on the Hackensack River / Fairleigh Dickinson University campus in Hackensack, New Jersey, and the co-chair of the countywide Juneteenth celebration. How are you doing it all? How do you do it?
Again, I think it goes back to my childhood. You couldn't sit around, your
That's
parents get up and get busy.
That's right.
Not dare say you were bored. Bored is just not in the vocabulary. And so it's just, it's a part of, I don't know, there is so much joy when you are involved in doing something, I think. As Martin Luther King said, the most important thing is, what have you done for others? And so every time I am given an award or a citation, I said, oh boy, I better get busy because I've been paid for that. So I better start doing something that I'm not being paid for. So it is, I do think that it is the joy in giving is as great or greater than receiving. And so there is so much that we can do. I wish that I was brilliant or a skilled engineer, maybe, but I'm not. So I use what I have to make a difference in the lives of others. Even with this gruffy voice, I don't know if it's cold with my age, but I keep trying.
I don't
We
know.
hear you fine. We hear you fine. We are
You
hearing
can
you
hear a
fine.
pin drop when you
Yes.
speak.
I understood the words that were coming out of your mouth.
Absolutely.
You talk about that. All of this is like civics and getting involved. And as you know, Miss Lacey, they don't even have this in most schools any longer. And I know you, one of the things that you've done for so many years is you as a teacher, and you were able to teach the students so much of what we're hearing tonight. What do you think we need to do to the educational system to kind of maybe get back to that civics, that desire, or what you said, what your parents taught you to be involved, to do something that you're not getting paid for? How do we do that now in education?
You're absolutely correct. Civics is not even, no one knows what that is anymore. And it is so important that people spend time on that. In schools, you learn rules, regulations, laws, relationships, and those kinds of things. I taught science most of my teaching years. But if you would visit Thomas Jefferson Middle School, you would see a tiled wall, and as a matter of fact, 2 walls that are filled with tiles. And across the middle of it, it says understanding and concern, the concerns and understanding for others. So one of the math teachers, after I had talked about the fact that students don't understand and appreciate who they are, there is no civics, and though I was not even able to teach it formally in the classroom, I said, let's get together. If you would take the mathematical part in terms of shaping the wall and the tiles and determining how many tiles we needed, I will work on the human side of it, the wall of human concerns. That's what it's called, the wall of human concerns. So if you'd go there as a science teacher, that wall is about things that matter to us as human beings, the environment, our health, sharing with one another. So you don't have to have, I wish we did have the courses. And I think that especially public education needs to revisit the curriculum and to determine courses like civics. But no matter what you teach, find a way to let your students know that they are humans first, and what they are learning is to help them to be better human beings. And while they long time have forgotten Newton's laws and Einstein's theory of relativity and all of that, they will remember that they cared about something. They were passionate about something. So I hope that's where it will go. You have
Oh
to
my
keep
goodness.
Yes, I hate that we have to stop the
No.
show.
That was absolutely the best closing remarks we have ever had.
Oh
It has been
my.
such an awe-inspiring evening.
Yeah.
You are such an inspirational and humble and loving person. I'm just so elated that you spent the night with us.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's been a long day. Oh my God, we are so grateful for someone with your thought process, with your heart, with your drive. I hope you enjoyed being with us tonight as much as we enjoyed having you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. You are the ones who will carry the torch. And I must say that we're in good hands. Thank you for what you
Thank
do.
you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
And I
you.
have one comment to say. I would say that you are an engineer, Mrs. Lacey, for all that you have done, for all that you have created, for all that you have built.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say that you are an engineer.
That is an engineer of the heart, the mind, and the spirit. You
Yeah.
absolutely are.
Yes.
Thank you.
Stay with us because we're going to end in a few minutes. Just bear with us. We're going to all go back to the green room. We hope you guys have enjoyed tonight's show as much as we have. There's a lot of hearts and there's a lot of cares and comments. They love you, Miss Lacey. They absolutely love you.
Yeah, our brother Suave asked if you would be his relative so he could brag to the world.
Yes.
I am.
And you have just hearts up here and so many people saying they are in awe. Jamie Lane is thanking us for inviting her to the show. Absolutely. We love all of you. Ryan King says, thank you, Mrs. Theodora Lacey. Shima's mommy says, hugs and kisses to this lady. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. We can't thank you enough. And I hope that you bless us with your presence again anytime. Please come back and see us and share. We'd love to hear more about what you're currently doing as well, and even how we can get behind you in some way and help your efforts and what you are doing in the TNET community, and even how we spread that to our own communities, because we are spread out here across the United States. So how can we spread that love, that joy, that just, kindness to our kids, to our communities? So please let us know how we can help in those efforts as well.
In any way.
Yes, so we are going to close out the show. We want to thank everybody for being there. A special, special thanks to Mrs. Lacey for gracing us with her presence. You're such a beautiful spirit, and we thank you. Everybody out there that has been watching and giving all the love, thank you so much. And here we go. We're going to close out the show, and everybody stay in the green room.
Yes.
Talk to you later. See you next Tuesday, everyone. Take care.